Hello, this is Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 here to do baseball power rankings heading into week 14. These are mine and mine only, so if you want to yell at somebody, yell at this guy. We will do them counting down from 14 all the way to 1 with some comments for every team. A reminder, these presented by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, the NBA, and NHL playoffs. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the best team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to get in on all the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, we start at 14. And there was a debate between two teams, Missouri and Auburn, and I took Missouri at 14. I know that Missouri's won 3 more games in the league than has Auburn. I think Auburn's out-of-conference body of work has been better, and as I've said time and time again, I think Auburn's biggest problem has just been that schedule. It's just been murderous in conference. The Tigers did get a Game 3 win to salvage that series with Ole Miss despite losing the first 2 games. I still think Auburn is a little better than Missouri at 13. Missouri, again, continues to get better. Did take a game this weekend from South Carolina. Has been competitive. It's probably close. If you want to wipe out the pre-conference portion of the schedule, I could argue Missouri's been the better team since then. Probably has been. But I still think Auburn, if I took them head-to-head in the series, neutral field somewhere, for whatever stakes, I'd probably still take the Auburn. Could be wrong. All right, moving on to 12. Got Ole Miss in that spot. And then Ole Miss got a series win this weekend, almost got the sweep over Auburn, as mentioned. I just don't trust Ole Miss's pitching enough yet. The middle of the order, pretty good, but I think there's some holes in that team compared to the ones in front of it. All right, number 11, Florida. And Florida could move up. I think Florida's pitching has gotten sneakily better. Now, I think they run out of gas. Maybe sometimes around Game 3 sometimes, although they've won Game 3 lately. I guess the point would be the pitching depth is the question. The middle of that order with Shelton and Caglione is really stout. I think Florida's a good team that's also been buried by kind of a brutal schedule, but it feels like the young pitching is coming together, and I feel like you could see the Gators move up maybe in the future. All right, number 10, I've got Vanderbilt. And I could argue that Vanderbilt's a spot or 2 higher, but when I watch this team play lately, it's just been bad against the better part of the league. Lost a home series to Mississippi State a couple of weekends ago, just got boat raced at Georgia. Vanderbilt's offense just doesn't stack up to the elite teams in the league. The pitching has faltered lately. This is a very un-Vanderbilt-like team. We'll see if the Commodores get things together in the final week or 2 of the regular season. All right, number 9, Alabama. Don't know much of what to say about this team either. I feel like the lineup is good, maybe not great, but good. Pitching, it feels like, is where things have fallen apart. Again, Alabama's played a really tough schedule, played some great hitting teams. That's got something to do with it. The SEC just beats you up and down, and that's kind of happened to Alabama, but still a team that is firmly in the mix for an NCAA tournament bid. We'll see how the Crimson Tide finish up. Moving up, number 8, LSU. And this is going to be one of the few instances where I use some recency bias. But I've been paying attention to this team, and you've seen me call it out on some of the previews. I feel like LSU is really starting to get it together pitching-wise at the top with Jump and Holman. Holman's been there all year. Jump has pitched much better of late. The bullpen has started to pitch better. Feels like they've got 6 or 7 pretty serviceable to good arms. And then they've got a lineup that's just being some nights carried by Jared Jones and Tommy White. And when your pitching is good and when your starting pitching is elite, as theirs has been on Game 1 and Game 2s lately in a lot of situations, that's good enough in this league. Keep an eye on LSU. I don't know that you want to get this team in postseason, presuming LSU gets there, which I think it will. We'll see how the next couple of weekends go. Number 7, South Carolina. Bullpen depth helped Carolina this last weekend. Middle of the lineup has been good, starting to catch fire a little bit lately. That weekend win against Kentucky a couple of weekends ago still looms pretty strong. I think Carolina is strongly in that hosting mix at this point. You would have liked to have swept Missouri this weekend if you were South Carolina, but we've brought up time and time again, There's no easy sweeps, especially in anybody's ballpark, anybody else's ballpark in this league. I think Carolina a very solid 7. You could maybe argue a spot higher, but I don't think you could really go any lower than 7. So if you want to take issue with me having Carolina too low, maybe that's fair. But I think certainly in this range and certainly no lower than 7. All right, number 6, Mississippi State. The lineup continues to come on. Hunter Hines has hit well. Dakota Jordan, one of the better hitters in the league. Feels like they're supporting guys at the top and the bottom of the lineup have hit better lately and had some big hits for them. Again, their 1-2 punch of Cal Steven and Jerangelo St. Jah, one of the better 1-2 punches in this league. They've got 3 or 4 guys out of the bullpen that feel like they've been money lately. State a very solid 6, and I think now firmly in that hosting conversation as that RPI continues to move up every week. Number 5, Georgia. I've called this one for a bit. I thought that Georgia was a better team than it was getting credit for being. If you were paying attention, it was starting to get some guys who were pitching well. Georgia's never going to be confused with one of the top 3 or 4 pitching staffs in this league. I get that. I'm not saying that. But what I am telling you is when you've got Charlie Condon on the streak that he's been on, which has been an all-year streak, you've got Corey Collins, who's been leading the country on base percentage. You've got 6, 7, 8 other guys in that lineup, I guess 7, who can hit home runs at just about any time. Georgia got Trey Phelps healthy this weekend. Look out for that team. The Charlie Goldstein injury could hurt them a little bit, but their pitching came up big against Vanderbilt this weekend. I think this is a really good team. We'll see how Georgia plays on the road, but I think with the way that lineup can score runs, look out. All right, we've had the top 4 the same for about a month. The order has changed a little bit, and I'm not sure if this is the right call, but I put Arkansas at 4 this week because it lost that series at Kentucky. I think I had those teams 2 and 4 last week. Kentucky, I wondered if the last couple of weekends were a sign that this was a team, I'm not going to say about to collapse, but about to lower its level of play a notch. Well, Kentucky got a couple wins over Arkansas this week and in Lexington. Again, maybe I've overreacted. Maybe if this was played in Fayetteville, the result would have been the opposite, and I would have had Kentucky losing the series and Arkansas remaining, no worse than maybe 2. When in doubt, I went with the team that won the series this weekend. So I put Arkansas at 4, Kentucky at 3. I don't feel great about that, to be honest, but the results were what they were. I think these are 2 really good teams. The difference is I like Arkansas's pitching better, but Hagen Smith lately, after him, that staff hasn't been quite as good, and I like Kentucky's lineup top to bottom better than I like Arkansas. I feel like it is a stronger bottom half of the order than Arkansas's got. Neither team is an elite top of the order, I guess, although I think Kentucky's would have to be better with Nicholson in that bunch. But point is, Kentucky won the head-to-head series. I think this is close. Maybe next week and it's different, but that's how I separated these teams out. All right, that leaves us with Tennessee and Texas A&M. And I saw D1 Baseball's got Tennessee at 1 this week. I would presume A&M fell to 2. I haven't seen the other polls as I'm doing this on Monday. I've got Tennessee at 2 and A&M at 1, and let me explain why. I think these are 2 both great teams. The offenses are very much alike. I think I like A&M's star power at the top a little bit better. Again, I've said all along, I don't like any 3 hitters in the country maybe is a threesome better than their top 3. And the middle of the order with Appel and some of those guys, so good. Tennessee can say the same thing. I get it. I think the separator is when I watch these teams play, I feel like A&M's more athletic on defense, can maybe make some things happen there a little bit more, very athletic in the outfield. And I feel like maybe the separator in this one is Ryan Prager. I feel like Drew Beam is kind of Tennessee's version of an ace. He's there too. Prager's been a little bit better. Both teams in the 2 and 3 spots, Beam I know is there too, but they're pitching him in that role. He's really their 1. A&M's starting pitching has struggled a little bit late, and that bothers me a little bit. But I feel like A&M's got a little bit more in the bullpen and a little bit more on defense. Am I wrong about that? I don't know that I'm wrong about that. Maybe Tennessee's a better team anyway. Maybe you can say that lineup's better than A&M's, and you might be right. But I've just felt like, for the better part of a month now, A&M seemed to me like the most complete team out there in the SEC. And I'm not a guy who says, okay, this team won a series, that team lost a series. You move this team up, you move that team down. That's not how I do it. I look at the big picture, my impressions of a team. I don't get swayed too much by one or two games. I just go back to what I think of you when I watch you play. And again, I've said this many times. You've got four teams that are having phenomenal seasons in this league. You've got a middle part of Mississippi State, South Carolina, Georgia that are really, really good teams. I think all hosting caliber teams. You've got an LSU team sitting out there at 8 that's really coming on. Alabama, Vandy, Florida would be in regionals today. Ole Miss has got a fighting shot. That's this league. You don't get too hung up on one outcome. You do use them as separators where you've got some confusion. But as I watch A&M, I think A&M and Tennessee are both special teams. Tennessee's pitching is not quite what it's been in past years, but, man, that offense is something. A&M's got offense. It's got a little bit of everything. When I watch this team, I feel like it is potentially one of the most complete teams I've ever seen. And I've watched SEC baseball for about 20 years. Aggies did not get the outcome they wanted this weekend, but I said I think that's a tough matchup at LSU because of the way LSU's been pitching. That's a lot of words to justify a choice between 1 and 2. But I know people will have questions about it. That's kind of why I separate it. Could I be wrong with the order? I think those are the top 4 teams in some order. We'll see how it plays out. You could see all those teams in Omaha. I think you could see some of these teams maybe even in that 5 to 11 range in Omaha too. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll be back to power rank the teams next week. When this time next week, we'll be looking at the final weekend of SEC play, headed to Hoover. We will be recapping these games. We'll be giving you previews on the upcoming series. Best way to get all that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And again, if you need to yell at somebody, yell at me. I'm the guy that put these together. All right. I'm Chris Lee at Southeastern 14. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon with more baseball content.